Okay. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Money Talk, where we don't just talk about money, we talk about all things green and, well, things to do with your money. It isn't just about what you do with your money, but about how you make it, how you help other people make it, and how you help other people spend it. So today we're going to be talking about, I don't know, all things. This is the last of my series about the heart. And all throughout February, we did things to do with the heart. And today is no exception because somebody with the biggest heart that I know is going to be my special guest today. So, what does money really buy for you? People say that you really can't buy happiness, but I always say you don't know where to shop. So, today we have a really fine guest. I admire his resilience. I love what he talks about and what he does, and the fact that he doesn't let anything slow him down. So, I have just two requests for you today. If you like what you hear, share it with others. If you really love what you're listening to, then subscribe to it. And stay tuned because we'll be right back.
Linda gave me the courage, the confidence to move forward.
And after I was finished with Linda K's training, I was at the next level.
It's Linda K. But when you trust that piece of you that says, I got something to give, I have something to say, you know you've got something to do.
Get on your feet, shake your hands in the air. Welcome to the stage, Linda K.
And we're back. And I told you, a very, very exciting. It's so exciting that you can see Maisie's really excited about it. Laying down the floor behind me. Well, as long as she's not jumping up and scratching. But, there are lots of things that are going to get her all riled up and wanting to see and do more because she loves grass. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Not the kind that you put into a pipe, the stuff that you'll walk on. See, they say grass is greener on the other side, but it isn't until you've really walked on something really special. So welcome to the stage with me today, Nick Ogilvie.
Hey, Linda.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm
Nick,
excited to be here.
About your company.
Sure. So, been in the artificial turf industry for almost 20 years, and I eat, breathe, and sleep artificial turf. So, I started it a long time ago because I was laid off from work, and I had to.
I love this story. And before you go there, explain how artificial turf has changed through the years. I mean, you used to be able to walk past someplace and you go, oh, that's so fake looking, right? Yeah. And then Home Depot started kind of upgrading the different qualities and the different consistencies and textures. You do something completely different. And I want to get into why you went there and how you got there. But let's talk about how turf, and everybody used to call it AstroTurf, right? Yeah. We saw it on games. We saw it on the fields. We saw it on football fields. We saw people sustain injuries with things. How has this changed over the years?
Yeah, so it's changed dramatically. So I always tell people, this isn't your Brady Bunch turf. So, when I first saw artificial turf, it was on the Brady Bunch, them doing the potato sack races. And I mean, I tell you, it's really came a long ways. It's more realistic. They've added in brown thatch. They've actually have several different blades that simulate real grass. So I actually have some here to kind of show you of how realistic it looks. And not only does it look real, but it performs really well. It's the drainage, so that way you reduce the flooding around your home and stuff like that. As long as it's installed correctly, that's the big thing, right?
Well, and you bring up a really good point. I mean, some of the footage that I've seen with what you do, really spends a lot of time grading and then setting down, rocks so that it will drain properly, and then sand so it doesn't feel all rocky when you walk on it, right?
Right. Yeah. So, and there's a new turf out, and it's made by this company called Tailor Made Grass, and it actually doesn't have the ridges on the back. It's got they call it the pinnacle backing, And so
Do you have a picture of that, Nick, so we can see what you're talking about?
I don't, but I do have in the slideshow a picture of what the turf looks like installed. And
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look.
yeah,
Let's,
it's really good. And then so that's the actual
oh my
turf
God,
right
this is
there.
somebody's backyard?
Yes.
Look at this. This is
Yep.
amazing.
And so that turf there drains. That is the tailor-made grass, and it drains at over 1,000 inches per hour.
1,000 inches per hour. I would see that, where it would pool would be the sand trap up there, right?
Yeah.
Where it would likely, just be pooling and I don't know, summer it could be kind of fun to have a pool like that, but you don't want that in your grass, or certainly not on your sand trap. It could suddenly be, a water trap, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
This looks absolutely beautiful in a different kind of grade. So it looks like it was, a curated lawn. This is beautiful.
100%. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely take pride in our installs. And it's one of those things. It's a big expense, and we understand that, and so we want to give our customers the best experience. See, there you go. Thumbs up. That's Steve. We did his golf green there, and he gave him a thumbs up. He loves it so much.
Oh my gosh, and he's definitely happy with that. So
Yes,
you put in the putting green also?
we did. Yeah, we put in the putting green, and he actually lives on the golf course at the Tribute here in the Colony. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's very cool. That's very,
yep,
very cool. Oh,
another
that's
customer.
beautiful.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure our customers are ultimately happy. So
I love what you did with this too. If I look at this from a texture perspective, I'm looking straight down at the pool, and I could see that you kind of cut out a nice little pattern in this putting green that matches this. I mean,
yep,
women, you got to love this, right?
yeah. So and
Oh
then
my God, this is gorgeous.
thank you, thank you. So this customer wanted to make it look like that it had mowed stripes in it. And so what we did is we took the turf and gave him that effect. And so now he can hit balls to his golf green in his house.
This is beautiful. Now, what we're looking at also is this looks like, somebody's typical lawn, these squares that are cut out on the back behind the trees at the bottom of the picture. Is this natural grass?
That's natural grass.
And you can see what it looks like. It's like looks kind of unnatural
Yep,
or naturally, like it's not getting watered and cared for. I like the other kinds that you can just rinse off
that's
and
right.
it's like new.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
This is really, really cool. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.
All right, now Nick, how did you get started in this?
Yeah, so I got laid off from work. I was working at Burlington Northern Santa Fe at the railroad, and had to figure out how to make some money. And
What
so,
were you doing on the railroad?
so I was a conductor.
Oh my God,
Yep.
serious?
Yep. And
That
actually,
isn't just a trivial job, Nick. I mean, you got some iron behind you there.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And I love the job. I really
Oh my
did.
God. I mean, when you were on the rails, were you, was it a great expansive feeling that you're going across our wonderful country, or did you do short haul, long haul?
Yeah. So we did a 242-mile trip from eastern New Mexico to Belen, New Mexico. So from Clovis to Belen, and it's on a transcon. And so it's really cool. So it starts off in the plains, and then as we get to Belen, it's over by Albuquerque. You get
Yep.
to the mountains.
Oh,
And
those are
so
gorgeous.
we go through some canyons, mountains, and it is really beautiful. And you're out in the middle of nowhere. So it was really neat. It really was. It was a great experience.
I'm sure the experience was unbelievable. And how long did you do that?
I did that for 10 years. Yeah.
And after 10 years, they go, yeah, we're done with you.
Well, no, so it's crazy. So right when I got hired, probably the first couple of years is when I got laid off. And I had to figure out what to do. And then I ended up doing artificial turf where I went and paid a guy out in San Jose. And
Sometimes we got to pay for our education, Nick.
Got to pay for it. And came back to New Mexico and was doing it. And then the railroad called me back.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it tempting?
It was, no. So I went back.
You
I
did?
went back. Yeah. So, but I still kept the artificial turf deal going for 6 years straight. I worked at the railroad and did artificial turf, both.
Wow.
So I did
Well,
2
that's,
jobs.
I always say the best loan that you could have is a full-time job, right? Because you don't have to pay it back. So it pays, for you to start your business. And did it fund the business for you as you started to grow it?
It did. It did, absolutely. And then about 6 years, 6 years into it, I had an opportunity to bid a huge project in Key Biscayne, Florida. And I won the project. I went down there to do the job, and I saw how much money was down there, and people weren't afraid to spend the money if you did a good job. As long as you sold them the bill of goods and did a great job, they were going to keep you around. And so I never went back to the railroad.
It was probably a little bit more lucrative, and you didn't trade anything out. You still got to be outdoors.
Yep.
And you
Yep,
still
I
got
love
to see and be places that you wanted to be. And, but your business started to grow, didn't it?
It did. It did. It, as soon as I did that, and now I will say it was, after I did that one, it took a little bit to get growing, but so when I was there, I had no place to live. I was trying to figure out in Florida where to live. So I was doing what's called the donut, 95, 4, 75, going around, and I would stay at hotels, and then I would
wait a minute, give that again. 94,
95, 4, and 75. It's the donut is what I call it in Florida. And so these hotels that I would stay at, I'd find obviously the cheapest hotels. And then I'd say, okay, around where's a pet boarding facility? Where's, a multifamily facility? And I would go to him and say, hey, you need pet turf because you have a pet park, stuff like, and that's how I started selling it. And it was just basically, I knew the railroad was done. Now my business quit being a hobby and started being my main income.
But you're not afraid to go knock on a few doors. A lot of people really want to grow their business, and they say they want to grow the business. They have what they call passion. But you and I both know that, passion is not a business plan, and passion is not a way to run your business. You've got to be smart. You've got to be strategic about it. So when you're growing a small business, you don't leave your side hustle. You don't leave your main bread maker and breadwinner. You use that to loan yourself money to get yourself into your business. But when it became bigger than what you thought it even could be initially, you had to start hiring. Where did some of the growing pains start?
Yeah, so the growing pains is always in the hiring. Because
you speak my pain. Isn't it always? The hardest part of any business owner's job is to hire the right people, right?
It is. And I see here we got Ted on here. Hey, Ted. The thing is you want them to, you have your expectations, and you want them to make sure that they have, the same expectations. And so for that, it's hard to start, to make sure, but you got to set them and set their expectations. And so
give me an example of that.
Yeah. So, you may say like, now this yard needs to be dug out 4 inches so you can put in the right rock, and you leave to go do another bid. You come back and they're already putting base rock down. And I'm thinking to myself, are you sure you've put down 4 inches? Oh, yes. I literally can take my finger, move it away, and then there's dirt. Like, nope, redo it. Because in any business, your name is everything.
Isn't it just?
And
your reputation is everything.
You have to do it right. That's the main thing. And in this industry,
why can't we take shortcuts, Nick? What's the problem with that? What's the problem with taking a shortcut?
It costs you a lot of money.
It doesn't just cost you money, it costs you clients, it costs you trust, right? And if trust is at an all-time low, I mean, we're talking about the single digits, Nick. We can't afford for anybody else to be running our business.
Correct. Correct. And it all goes back to communication.
Okay.
The crew needs to be communicated with. The clients need to be communicated with, because the last thing you want is something being lost in communication, because then it's just a downward spiral.
and the spiral goes down very quickly, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
You
So,
start right up here and then it just feels like a drain. Whoosh.
yeah, it honestly does. And as I started getting bigger and bigger in the business, the other thing that kind of hurt financially was, about a year and a half ago, when the gas prices started and all the inflation started, I went from, a certain percentage of profit, and then you could literally see in June the profit go all the way down to the end of the year.
Wow.
And it was so insane. I had to think of something to do. I had to pivot. I had to figure out what to do. So I went straight to the manufacturer and started making my own turf.
No kidding. Now, how many people would think of doing that, Nick? Honestly, and does the turf texture consistency change from climate to climate?
It does. It does. So it has a f- oh a thaw effect, like heating, because it's plastic. So
Right.
it has expansion and contraction.
Okay.
So it does. And
Are you telling me that sometimes the lawn will actually kind of shrink up, or that it will go over the sidewalk?
so crazy thing is, if the installation
That sounds
doesn't
crazy.
the installation is, if it's not done correctly, you can start getting wrinkles all in your lawn because they didn't stretch it as they were installing it.
Oh, how interesting.
Yep.
How interesting. There's a real science to this. But
Yeah.
how was the going? Many people would go, oh, well, like in my business, which is real estate, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because you do something very interesting. But when we think about in my business, where can we, there are only a couple of places where you can start changing the numbers. You either have more income, or it costs you less, or you lower your expenses. In this instance, it sounds to me like it's the same three principles. So you're either going to have to lower your cost, or increase your cost, lower your expenses, or is there a third option? But it sounds to me like you found the third option, which is in that gray area, going back to the manufacturer and saying, I need a better price. And he goes, well, I'm doing the best I can. I got to make money too. My cost just went up. How did you reduce your cost by creating your own product line?
So what I did was, unfortunately, I had to go overseas
Okay.
to get it made. Outsourced it in Vietnam.
Okay.
And I had to do this in order to stay competitive. And unfortunately, in this industry, you have what's called chucks in a truck, or that's what I call them.
There's a chuck on the truck. Sounds like bodies.
And what they do is they go, and they've never installed turf before. They'll go look at YouTube or Google and say, oh yeah, I can do that. And they'll give a price that's $2 a square foot cheaper, and you lose out. So you have to stay competitive. And so that's how we kind of pivoted towards that. How we kept our profit margins the same, because we didn't want to have to go up in price. We wanted to make sure that our customers didn't have to suffer that, because they've already had to suffer in so many other ways as inflation's hit. So we're trying to keep our costs down as much as we can.
It's fascinating. And then, when did you start seeing the impact of that? So, walk me kind of through that process. And you go, okay, this is the only way I can do this, and I'm going to start getting, because anytime something becomes popular, you get those chucks on the trucks that go around trying to undercut you, that don't know what the hell they're doing, right?
Yep.
And and the average consumer doesn't understand the market. They want the best price possible. They think what you do is simple and magic and cheap, right? They think it's
Right.
cheap. And it's anything but that. You've got labor costs, you've got product costs, you've got the carrying cost, you've got the taxes, the insurance, all the other things that go along with your equipment and all the other things that keep your business rolling. But when you made that decision to go over, it took a period of time for you to get it. What was that ramp time for you?
Yeah. So it took about, I would say, I already had started looking, so I had some manufacturers narrowed down, and then when I really hit the go button and told them let's do this, I actually had it because I ordered in such a large bulk. I had it in about 45 days to me from overseas. So I was very lucky about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is that was really, really fortunate. So after that, you start getting. When did you start seeing the profits start to increase? Was
Yeah.
it immediate?
Immediate. Yeah.
Unbelievable,
Yep.
unbelievable. So when you price, excuse me, when you price this out, is it priced out by the job or is it priced out by the foot? I
Yeah.
look at this as yarn, right? We
Sure.
just roll out a bolt of this and how long or linear feet, how many square feet is in this project, right?
Yep. So it's all measured by and priced out by square footage.
It is. So
Yes.
you blend this with your labor and material cost, and then
Oh
now
yeah. I have it down to, I know what a blade runs that cuts the turf, how much that I need. And so that kind of goes back to all of this stuff. Talking about business is, there's a lot of people that do the vision boards every year, and that's great. I do one as well. I think that's a great thing. But I always
you got to
tell,
put action behind that vision.
exactly, but and also on top of that is you have to do a SWOT analysis.
SWOT.
OT. Yep.
Mhm.
And
Strength,
I do one.
weakness. Hold on, we got to catch our viewers up
Sure.
with this. Strengths. What are your strengths? What was a company's strengths? What are their weaknesses? What's the opportunity? And what is the threat to this to be successful? All right,
Yep.
lock
Yep.
us in now. Take
Yep.
us on that trip.
Exactly. So I do this at least every quarter, if not every month, because our industry, because it's such it's not a need, right? Artificial turf isn't a need. It's just people want.
Actually, is it or isn't it? Okay, in
Well,
California or in states where they are not as water rich in their resources anymore. I mean, in California, we got fined for having water on, or we got told, it's on even or odd days that you can water your lawn.
it is
And we
here
were
too.
really big with lawns in California for many, many years, and now we've become a little bit more conscientious. And we started taking out the lawn and putting in rock and stone, but it doesn't have that same wonderful I'm home feeling of
Right.
it doesn't feel natural. For me, when I think of home, I think of the yard. I think of playing out in the grass, taking the dog outside.
Yeah.
It isn't just golf that you're building. You're building a family lifestyle.
Yeah, you truly are. And that's one of the main reasons I started this business as well, not only because I love golf so much, but because growing up in eastern New Mexico, drought is real.
Mhm.
And there are actually communities in eastern New Mexico, they're getting their water hauled in because they're completely out. And it doesn't make the media. It doesn't. California is great because they had incentive programs to do artificial turf, xeriscaping, whereas parts of New Mexico, they don't, which is a shame. Even here in Texas, where I'm at now, in the Dallas area, we have water restrictions, but yet nothing happens. And so I tell people
When you say
that
nothing happens, it's not enforced. There's
it's
no accountability. It's just it's
right.
a nice idea. Yeah, check it off the box, but no
It's
accountability.
just words. And so you're taking this farmland that's been in, farms, say dry land farming for ages and ages and ages. And now you do these developments that have all these houses in there. Each house consumes 10 to 15,000 gallons of water just on their lawn a year.
This sounds insane.
So you think about that.
Really, and not just insane, it sounds irresponsible.
Right. And so you would think the developers and the cities would go in together because it would help the infrastructure. For instance, we have a town up north of here called Gunner, Texas. They started running out of water already because the growth is so popular. And it's because they don't have the infrastructure in place.
And when we say infrastructure, what's interesting to me as you say this, Nick, is, I read about politicians, say in Arizona, that are taking to task property owners that sold their property and I can think of one very specifically where riparian or water rights were sold with the land. And so it was an international, it wasn't even a US citizen, it was an international that bought that land and said, I can grow anything I want on this land and I don't have to keep it here. So he started growing soy and taking it off to India, right? And we're all of Arizona, the politicians are going, oh, no, you're not going to do that. It isn't a NIMBY anymore. It's not in my backyard. It's not even a sense of nationalism or pride. It's a matter of survival.
100%. The water today is the new oil. I promise you that. It is the new oil.
And as you say that, we look around us and to carry the Arizona story just one step further, they're now looking at running a line, just like California did to the California aqueduct, right? Where we drained the Colorado River because we never thought it would run out. Well, guess what? It's running out. So now Arizona is running an aqueduct from the Sea of Cortez in Mexico through a desalination plant into Arizona so they can build more homes. This is not a platform for discussing how are we going to solve this problem, but I think that it's a smart thing to be thinking about. Yeah, replace your lawns. There are so many better alternatives today, and yours being one of them. Where are you doing most of your business?
I do most of it right now in Texas and Florida. For a long time, I did it all over the United States.
I'm hearing opportunity. Any of you viewers out there for franchising, Nick?
Yes,
have you thought about franchising?
100%. Yeah, I franchise, and and that's the thing, right? It's only going to get more and more popular, and
Absolutely.
kind of to go back to the aqueduct deal is if people would read Every Last Drop for Sale, that talks about that pipeline. It talks strategically about the pipeline and what it did. And it's a shame because everybody, they think, oh, a pipeline to fix it, but it doesn't.
It doesn't fix it, not even. And not only that, they always say, Nick, that is you fix one problem, it reveals another. And it may take several years, and in this case, a few decades, but look what we did to that river. And, now you've got, indigenous people that had a right to the water that no longer have the same rights that they had, marginalizing more and more things. Now, before I go off on a tangent, I do want to talk to you about some of the other things that you're working on.
Sure.
You're doing something to do with courts. What is that?
Yeah. So we do, it's called Game Time Courts, and you can go to gametimecourts.com, and it is pickleball courts.
Oh my God, how much fun is that? Just the best.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a lot of fun. We can put logos in there and everything like that. And it really changes the whole backyard. And it's really safety. You would think that a court wouldn't be a safety issue, but safety is part of having your kids over at your house, having the kids' friends over at your house. So that way you always know where your kids are at. They're having a blast.
Hello. Yes, I want to know where they are.
Yeah. So
plus it's so trendy and so fun right now. and have not only just the safety of having the AstroTurf, because I know a lot of seniors that go to these tennis courts that have been repurposed, and they are falling, they are injuring themselves trying to get the damn pickleball.
Yeah,
So,
100%. And on our courts actually have what's called pickle grip, and it has little grippers that help stabilize just for that. Honestly, yeah,
wait a minute, is that the commercially available pickle grip?
exactly, and that's the name of it.
That's awesome. You are such a go-getter in your business. And one of the things, when I first met you, Nick, one of the things that I was just blown away with was how much you are in command of technology. Have you always been curious about technology?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a picture that my granny sent me. It was probably 3 months ago or so, and there I am with in a computer with a little floppy disk. Like, I mean,
Floppy disk.
yeah, the old you had to do the
Oh
semicolon
yeah. Oh
set
yeah.
up.
The ones that held 5 MB. Yeah,
That's
those.
right. That's right. Yeah, I I tell you, the Oregon Trail, number munchers, the whole thing, man.
Oh my God, that's great.
I,
But
lo- I love it.
you've taken it several steps further. You're out you're out telling everybody what you do. Everywhere I look on social media, every social media platform I look, there's Nick. And you're talking about, your family. You're talking about the turf. You're talking about a job. You're talking about whatever it is that you're doing. You really do have to be curious about this because, or pick a platform. Do you have any particular platforms you like over others?
Yeah, so how I get my message out there to the main platforms is, on my Go High level, I have everything set up for my CRM. And
the CRM, for those listening, is a customer relationship management tool, CRM. But having something that is simple like Go High Level, that's pretty cool because you're able to be responsive. You can blast out big pieces of information to a specific group or to all of your fans in your database.
yes,
Which I'm sure there are many.
yes, 100%, and that's exactly what I do. And the one that I'm not really active on, and I probably should be, is X. Man, I'm just not that active on it. And one thing that I am active on is TikTok as well. And now that's the younger generation, kind of whatever. But if they see a cool yard or something, a cool court, guess what? They're going to tell their parents, I want that.
I want that.
And so you have to attack
awesome.
them from
You're marketing to the kids on top of this. This is awesome.
Exactly.
No stone unturned for sure.
No.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk
Sure.
about your flipping business.
Yeah. So I actually teamed up with Kayla Klink, and her husband had been flipping houses for a while now. And so we thought we'd go into and start flipping properties. And so her and I have created a course on how to flip real estate.
No kidding.
And using different loan strategies and stuff like that in order to, like, hard money loans and stuff like that, in order to get the house, to flip it. And then what she does, and I like, is she'll turn it into a rental. And so that way, because like the market right now, you say, well, I'll rent it out until the interest rates get lower and then sell. Yes. And so that way you're making money off the flip. And so it's a neat course. We go into it and we have formulas set up. We have all sorts of different things set up in order to hopefully they're successful. And we do if they want to come over and see a flip going on, I know her and Danny are getting ready, or just started one in Denison. They can go check it out for themselves and see what they're going to get themselves into before they take the leap.
And that's important, Nick, because a lot of people just get into it thinking, oh, well, this is easy. And I've got some handyman skills and I can just jump in here, whip and flip, and out we go. And I've just made $50,000. But that market shifted. As they say, the train left the station on that one a while ago. I had launched a company called Passive Piggy Bank, which was, make money with your tools and have, with your toys and have other people pay for them, right? Great concept. But the primary focus on it was Airbnb, and that market has shifted now as well.
Mhm.
A lot of big players that came into that marketplace that, and I think there may be some opportunity as well there. But all of a sudden they're sitting on assets that are not turning the money like it used to.
Yeah.
And so we had this forced stay at home for a couple of years, and after this, when people felt like they could get out again, they no longer were interested in doing the Airbnb or going and staying for a month or 2 months or 3 months and try out somebody else's home, because home was looking kind of boring, or they needed more space and time. So that market shifted completely. How has flipping markets changed in the last 3 years?
So yeah, so people aren't, whenever the interest rates and everything were good, flipping was go, 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 go. And now it's really slowed down, to be just completely honest. And I think it's just because we have an election year coming up and they're wanting to see what happens. Interest rates are a huge, they play the game, and then you have all the regulations, because a lot of people don't understand with the flipping. There's permits you got to pull. There's different things that you have to do. Like you said,
there is that, right?
Yeah, you just can't go in and say, here you go, this is it, So, and one thing that, struck was you tell me about how we stayed home for the, in the real estate market. But I think now you're starting to see the commercial developments start taking a hit.
Oh, big time.
Because that now they're hurting bad.
And there are a couple of primary reasons for this. Corporations have now realized that everybody had to stay at home. All of a sudden, they're looking at all this square footage that they are renting, going, "What the hell are we paying all of this money for?" Nobody's even could roll a bowling ball down the lane and never hit anything, right? So in their offices. And then when it was declared over, employees didn't want to go back to the office. They're like, hell no, I like sitting in my pajamas and working. This is good. I do my best work in my pajamas, right?
Right.
They didn't want to go back. And many corporations have now made it, sort of a mix and match. And, when I was selling commercial space in office space, the trends started, it's like, who's going to want to subscribe to checking in and having a desk time and not having all of their stuff with their pictures and their stuff to sit on the desk? Who would want to do that? Well, it turns out it did take a while and did take a pandemic, but it's here. So now what do you do with all this excess space? So you've got institutional money in these now looking at this going, okay, how do I repurpose? How do I keep from, getting monstrously hit, taking a bath on this? They're going to take a hit on it, but it's not just one segment of the real estate market. It's going to hit in many pieces. Back in 2006, when the housing market tanked for a lot of really solid reasons, nobody really kind of thought about. In fact, call it naive, Nick, but I didn't think that we would be hit in the commercial market. Hey, it's houses. We've got commercial, but everything stopped. Everything ground to a halt. Because if the money stops, then that's if the buck stops there, everything else does too, right?
Exactly. So I think it's going to be interesting how these commercial players pivot, right? Because you hope that they've done a SWOT analysis, like we were talking earlier.
Yep.
We hope they have, and they could restructure their building for something useful.
And if we have the housing crisis that we do and the affordable housing, office buildings that are strategically parked, that have, that are sitting on business corridors with public transportation and all the other things that make housing without having parking, work. There's so many alternatives to be able to go. And so I think that, our next chapter of what this is going to look like is going to be interesting.
It is.
So next chapters for you, Nick. You've got a couple of things that are challenging you. How does the impact of being a growing business impact you if there's a health crisis coming up?
Yeah, so it's difficult. in October of 2022, I had a double pulmonary embolism, and it was
Double pulmonary embolism. So you had a blood clot
in
in
both lungs.
In both lungs.
Yeah,
Crap.
yeah, and I lived through that, obviously. And
Hold on.
Yeah.
What made you? So was this a crisis that happened that you had to go see the doctor, or was this just kind of, I don't feel so good today, doc? What's that?
Yeah,
Right?
no. So I was out feeding the cows, and the
Wait a minute. He just kind of casually, I was walking the dog. Yeah, I was feeding the cows.
yeah, I was feeding the cows, and all of a sudden, it felt like a blast happened or something. I couldn't hear it, just ringing in my ears. I couldn't, blurred vision, and so I got back.
Oh, that's not normal.
No, and so I got back in the tractor, went to the house, and we had an oximeter. And so my wife put the oximeter on my finger, and my heart rate was like 126. And so she's like, sit down here. And she went and grabbed me a glass of water, and everything was fine. And so then I go to bed that night, and I sleep with a CPAP. I put it on, and all the air rushed, and I passed out. And I got one good breath out to ask for my wife to call 911. And
oh my God.
Yeah, and so that's what happened. Ambulance came, and they said that they had we have one of the largest blood clots that we've ever seen. We don't know if they're going to take it out or not. If not, then you're going to die right here tonight.
Oh crap.
Yeah, so it was it's just one of those things that
At that moment, Nick, you're contemplating meeting your maker and saying goodbye to your family. What's going through your head?
I honestly, I was very content because I've never done anybody wrong. I know where I'm going. I believe in God, and it's His will. The only thing that I felt bad for was my wife over in the corner and the daughters I'm leaving behind. That's what I felt.
How old are your girls?
So 26 and 23. And so I felt bad. I felt bad for that. I really did. And
I understand.
And at that time, I wanted to get through it. And the surgeon and stuff said that they would end up taking the go for it, and try to get the blood clot out. And as I was going,
just any go for it, okay? You have to talk us through what happened.
Yeah, so they
You're not gonna viewers. You are not gonna stay tuned because this is riveting.
So as I'm getting wheeled back there on the gurney, I said, I need some, what am I going to do for some pain meds and stuff like that, anesthesia? And they said, you're too far gone. You're not going to get any.
Oh, great. Okay.
And, yeah. And so.
Wait a minute. What are you guys going to cut? Where are you going?
Yeah, exactly. So they cut my groin, and they just start shoving the lines up and in me. And as they're operating on me.
Wait a minute. Wait. No anesthesia. They've cut you. You're just having a laugh and a laugh and a cry every other breath.
Yeah, basically.
That must have been intensely painful.
So it was. They actually had a nurse. It was. And bless her heart, all she did was she had a rag, and she just wiped my face because it was just sweat from the pain. And
that is absolutely unimaginable.
And it was only supposed to be an hour, and I ended up laying on an operating table for 3 hours.
At some point, does your brain go, I can't handle any more of this pain, and just go to a different place? So it
does.
Okay.
So there was a point in time where literally it's crazy even thinking about it, but there was a bright light, and basically I was like, I'm not giving up.
The option tube. Right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not giving up. So I'm like, I'm not closing my dang eyes. And literally, I did that for my wife, my daughters. I'm like, I'm not giving up. And so that's what I refuse to give up.
Oh my gosh, I've just got chills with that. That I'm just absolutely moved by this.
I refuse to give up on life. I refuse to give up on losing. Um, I'm very passionate about, if I'm all in on something, I'm all in on it. And so now I'm struck with this other task, right? March 5th. And
What's
March
happening
5th.
March 5th?
Say what?
What's happening on March 5th?
So March 5th, now we found out that my body is making blood clots. And
Oh no.
so I have
So what was going on with this double pulmonary is now a condition that you know is systemic. So your body is literally making blood clots.
yeah. So it's called CTEF, and now I was given a year left to live in December. And
December.
this past
You were
December, I was given a year left to live. And once again, thinking to myself, okay, everybody's all excited for 2024. And on December 21st, I'm given a year left to live. And it's kind of like, it's kind of crazy. But they have a committee of doctors have met, and they're going to do a surgery on me where they're going to, I always say they're going to kill me. And, you know, my wife hates that, but that's basically what they're going to do. They're going
when she says I'm going to kill you, she doesn't really mean that. The doctors do.
Yeah. And so they're going to put me on ice, and they're going to put me on a lung bypass and a heart bypass. And they're going to go in there and grab those things out and close me up, and I'll be unconscious for 3 days. And then I'll be ready to rock and roll. That's what I tell her. I like, like,
let's go. Let's go again. Oh my God. I'm just like, I am speechless. And that is pretty rare. Nick, that's pretty rare for me to be speechless. But the fact that you've got the attitude that you do, you've been through this once, maybe not as seriously as this one is.
Right.
But you're at peace with who you are.
100%.
You've lived the kind of life that you have loved to every 100% part of you, and everything that you've done it. I look at what you're doing, and it's not 100%, Nick. That's 120. Just let me know. 120, and you just go live full out. You get this death sentence. You go, that's their opinion.
That's their opinion.
And isn't it just? So often we feel like just quitting. We just feel like, it's too hard. You didn't close your eyes. You go, I'm not going. You're going to have to come grab me and take me out. I am not going.
Mm-hmm. And, it goes back to, every day be grateful and thankful for what you have. And be grateful and thankful for things that you don't have, right? It's like the Christopher Reeve story. Everybody wanted to be Superman until he became a quadriplegic. No one wanted to be Superman then. So always be grateful for what you have and you don't have. And, at the beginning you said that I have a big heart, and I do. One of the things, I try to help people on a daily basis. I mean, you've got to help people. It's like when I teach people how to do artificial turf, people think it's so crazy that I teach people to be my competition, but there's money to go around for everybody. And I'm a firm believer in just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. That's really it.
There's no scarcity in your mindset, is there?
No, none.
Oh my goodness. So out of all of the things that you've lived through in this life, what would you say the hardest thing has been?
The hardest thing is just trying to get everything accomplished before March 5th. That's been the toughest. And one thing I will say that I have failed on, that I don't want to see others fail in, is I keep all this stuff here in my head on, okay, this is how I do this is how I do it. And I never shared it with anyone. I never shared it with my wife. I've never shared it with anyone. So if something was to happen, that, they'd be okay. So now I'm in that process of hurry, tell everybody what I do so that way it's okay. And I will tell you, I have the best wife in the world, 100%. If you see back here, there's this. My wife came in the office the other day, and she put, "Your wife loves you very much." And you notice, I never erased it. it's just
Love is. Love is. Nick, oh my God, the biggest heart ever. What would you say now that you're facing the end of the barrel of the gun again?
Mm-hmm.
That what's not important?
Jeez, all the little things, all the little things in life aren't like, just all the little things. Just don't let it worry you. And I think it comes back from, about 3 years ago. I was a people pleaser my whole life. I wanted everybody to like me. And that's a horrible feeling, because you carry all this stress with you. Now I'm to the point where, what are they going to do? Ground me? No, they're not. And so that's one thing I hope people will learn from this is, if you have a bad day, if you have a customer that's just being a real pain in the rear, it's okay. They can't ground you. They'll get over it. Just do the right thing. So.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And it gives me great pleasure and tremendous honor, understanding how important every single minute is, every single second that you live this life. I'm just so grateful. Again, Nick at luxeblades.com. You can reach out to him, send him well wishes, send him virtual flowers. They won't let anything in.
Virtual.
Virtual flowers. 972-895-8444. Nick, what an absolute blessing. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And look forward to seeing you after March 5th.
Yeah, you will. You definitely will. Hang on there. Thank you all for joining us today. It was such a pleasure having such an incredible guest on. And I have to tell you that, when we make the biggest things out of the smallest things and the smallest things into the biggest things, it does make a change, and it changes how you look at things. Keep it simple. See you next time.
Because if you market something really, really well, you never have to sell.
Do you like to talk about money? If you do, and you'd like to be a guest, contact me at lindak360.com.